Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming back here to Temas's channel. We're sitting here once again with Mike, and we want to dive into the company today. But first off, how are you doing?
Doing well, sir. How are you? It's beautiful, warm, humid weather in southern Ontario today, and can't wait for a weekend to start.
Fair enough, fair enough. It is also a beautiful day down here in Northeast Ohio, but I digress. Mike, what I really want to know is imagine you and I walked into an elevator. We got 50 floors to go up, and I look at you and say, Mike, what does Temas do? Give me the 411.
Sure, and I'll do it in four little pieces because we are really four parts to the company. We're a titanium project in Quebec, so titanium from ilmenite and iron. And we have a proprietary process that can make it right to pigment grade for the paint and paper guys, like down in Cleveland, Sherwin-Williams, or Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh Paints. They would likely be some of our first customers. The second part of the company is a little project that we have a joint venture in Serbia on with Aaron Ventures called Piscanja. And it's as far as I know, the highest grade boron project currently with a resource in the world. It's over 30% boron in the rocks, and for us that should be a hopeful near-term producer. And two other parts of the company are technology based. One is ORF Technologies that we own 50% of, and it has a suite of technologies for mineral processing, titanium being one of them, but nickel being another big part of the company, non-cyanide gold. We're able to clean up tailings. We're able to clean up water. So it's kind of the green side of the business, and even what we're looking at for new mineral processing will green up the traditional mining industry. And then Metal Leach, we have the license for North America and Europe, and they have some very cool proprietary technologies. Some are very suite of ammonia leaches, which work really well in rocks that consume acid like crazy. So in a carbonate rock, an acid is a big consumer with a carbonate. Ammonia, not so much. So we've got some opportunities, doing test work in the U.S. and in Mexico, but also they're building a large zinc plant with this technology in Turkey right now. So it's moving the story forward quickly.
Yeah, interesting. You got some interesting resources you guys are working with, and some interesting technologies too. Can you tell me where everything stands so far, and what stage of production or exploration or R&D right now?
Yeah, so we'll start with La Blache. La Blache has had a resource in the past. We are doing pilot plant test work on it, so that'll be a three-part step. There'll be bench work for about a week, then 2 weeks of mini plant work, and then we'll run about 90 days or maybe 80 days of full pilot plant, similar to the one, or actually the one right behind me will be the one that we're using. And at the same time, we plan to start doing some drilling as soon as we get our permits in Quebec, and we'll likely launch a preliminary economic assessment in Quebec sometime this fall, but more will come on that in coming discussions. Then when we talk about Piscanja, we closed that transaction about 2 weeks ago. Everything is moving forward. We had our big engineer and geologist roundtable meeting this week, plan what's next. So we'll put out a press release probably early next week on the bits and pieces of that, but it's going to move very quickly, especially on the Serbian permitting side. There are some slight differences for what we have to file with the Serbian government for regulatory rules in Serbia versus what we have to file in North America with the securities commissions here for proper filing. So we are making sure that what we do for one can easily be modified to be filed for the other. So, a PEA in Serbia will allow us to file a PEA in Canada without a lot of complications, that kind of jumping through hoops. With ORF, we're doing nickel testing for some clients around the world right now, some in Africa. We're looking at a couple of projects in the US on titanium. What else are we looking at? We have some new innovative nickel technology that one of the doctors working with us would like us to advance. And I think that's going to get us a product to sell to the battery metals industry very quickly. And also do a large environmental cleanup on certain nickel tailings, nickel waste material. And with Metal Leach, Mexico, the US, and Turkey are the big projects that we are sort of following or leading the most, but they also are doing other work in Africa on their own, down in Chile with another partner, such like Temas. There's a 50% partner for South America, and they're developing new technology in Australia as we speak as well. So things are moving forward, and it's everything we're looking at is to reduce capital costs, reduce operating costs, but most importantly, reduce the environmental footprint of the technologies as well.
Yeah, I had heard mentioned before there's actual some value to tailings. One, in terms of like there's stuff in there you can extract from it, and two, cleaning them
Mhm.
up, as you mentioned, is great because mining kind of naturally has this bad reputation, largely through Hollywood and stuff. But there is some environmental impact, and being able to clean that up and actually get something out of it is kind of a win-win there.
Yeah, and for us, we look at it sort of you clean up somebody else's waste and you make a good product from it that everyone uses on a daily basis, but you're also then making something that is a toxic waste, an inert product, or a usable product. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value to that. And there's, a few companies have been successful doing that on tailings, usually to recover gold and not so much going after some of the base metals. But we have yeah, you have to think base metal deposits typically are quite large. And even if they leave a little bit behind, there's a lot in the ground and there's not a lot of grinding or crushing involved. So you got a lot of energy already put into that rock in the waste stream. So now you just have to come up with an economic and environmentally friendly way to extract the remaining minerals.
Hmm.
And we don't have to produce billions of tons a year, but if you make a few $1 million a year and you're cleaning up the environment and that's a profit, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal at all. And what's interesting is you guys kind of sit in this middle zone. I mean, obviously, you see companies in the resource industry that are focusing more on tech or focusing more on properties themselves and just focusing on drilling and so on. But you guys seem to be in this kind of a hybrid zone. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and we're I guess more selective on the projects we work on. They either have to tie directly into the technology we have, or they have to be, above average expectations on returns. Like we're not looking for a 20 or 30% internal rate of return unless that ties in directly to technology we're commercializing or using.
Hmm.
But if we can come across a project that we see 50 or better percent internal rate of return on, we've looked at projects we figure have 100% rate of return on. And you don't come across a lot of those. They're often too small for the majors. But if you can get them into production quickly at a low capital cost and low operating cost, and again, environmentally friendly, you've got a good winner.
Yeah. It definitely seems like an interesting strategy, not one you see a lot. So I'm kind of curious now, what would you say your biggest advantages are? Let's say people are looking at resource companies, right? What would you say the three things that highlight Temis the most and say, hey guys, look at us. Look at what we're doing here. This is why you should be excited.
So I'd say we have a very supportive, active, resource intelligent, and technology intelligent team from our board of directors right down to our consultants. We are, I mean, I hate to say that our average age of our senior consultants is probably 80 years old. And they will tell you if you talk to them that they've had 50 years to make mistakes so they don't repeat those mistakes. So that is probably a huge advantage on the technology side. And on our board, we have guys who understand technology and have run technology in mining companies and know the capital markets. And some of the smartest geos are on our team as well. So I'd say that experience really works well. A second advantage is we already have access to technology that is not quite commercial, but it's almost there. And from what we see, the environmental footprint is significantly lower. The carbon footprint's significantly lower. And we can deal with surface stockpiles and tailings that other processes cannot. Like we can handle chrome and cobalt in our processes that other processes just ignore or leave behind. So that I think is a huge advantage. And if we use our technology versus sending something to a smelter, the customer doesn't lose a lot of their platinum group elements in a nickel deposit. We have very high recovery, and it's all payable to you. It doesn't go to the smelter in the backside. A third part, we are cognizant of SEG and environmental compliance and social governance. So we, even though we're not quite to where we want to be reporting it, we are already doing it. And so, the market doesn't know how cognizant and how serious we take that. But that is a major paperwork undertaking to complete. And right now, the engineering and environmental work is where I got to put my, my energy and time. But you'll see I'll probably disappear into compliance and SEG for about a month just to make sure that that reporting gets all up to speed, so that the funds all know where we sit with our environmental footprints, with our compliance, with our social responsibility, community actions. We've sent out letters to the communities where we're working, and just to let them know what we're doing. And if they want to get a hold of us, they know how to get a hold of us.
Good, good. I mean, yeah, engaging the communities you're involved in is always a good thing, and it's great to see that more environmental consciousness from mining companies at all, right?
Yep.
Anybody involved in this industry, again, I think it's time that we kind of come together as a whole, realize that hey, maybe we can do more good than bad when it comes to this stuff. Tailings, obviously, being one of the biggest issues, which you guys are aiming at taking care of, but yeah, I mean that does draw a lot of people in, right? Everybody as a whole has been kind of catching on to this.
Yeah, and there's certain investors who, if they're institutional, they do not have the ability to invest in you if you don't do that. So that
Oh.
it becomes actually a point in certain, especially in Europe, if you're looking at certain European institutional investors, you have to have that. BlackRock in the US, you have to have that. RBC in Canada, you have to have that. So, not the retail investors in Canada, they get to do what they want, but the institutional funds of RBC, they've got rules. BlackRock's got rules, and if you don't fit within those boundaries, you might still be a great investment, but you don't meet their criteria.
That's interesting. That's something I didn't know. But all right, Mike. Well, thank you for coming on. Do you have any last words for people about the company before we go?
Just keep your eye on green technology and where we are going in the nickel space, and I think that will be a little bit cutting edge and higher margins and much more environmentally friendly than what's traditionally out there. It's not what Elon Musk is quite asking for green nickel, but probably greener than what anyone else is doing.
Gotcha. All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your time, and thank you everybody for watching. You got any questions for Mike or Carl the Llama, who we'll have on as soon as we possibly can, then let us know below and we'll happily dive into it. But for now, Mike, have a wonderful day.
You as well. Take care.